Welcome to Iron Summit, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming your best self, blending expert insights on strength training, smart recovery, optimal nutrition, and mindset mastery to help you elevate your game.
What's up, guys? If you're looking to level up your training, click the link in the description and check out the Iron Summit Gains Emporium. Our strength training plans are designed to help you pack on muscle, and with our software, you can track every workout right from your phone. Plus, you'll have direct access to us for any questions along the way. Don't just train, level up your training.
We're live.
It's Tank Top Thursday, apparently.
Straight from the lift.
Both of us.
Didn't have time to change. Smell a little bit. That's all right.
Well,
Hey. Put that on silent. Do not disturb in the studio.
come on, everyone. They should know better.
Unless it was Reese, I don't want to hear it, all right?
What'd you say?
I said unless it was Reese, I don't want to hear the ding, ding, ding.
I know. Come on.
I'm just kidding.
So how's your training been lately?
It's been good, man. I've been busy, but good. I feel like summer's always fun for whatever reason. I feel like there's a lot more outdoor activities, which is also a little bit of a distraction from strength training stuff, but I definitely enjoy, doing some outdoor sports stuff. What about you?
It's good, man. I'm doing a cut so I can look as lean as you. Literally my
Peak
goal.
week for our lift this weekend.
Yep. Get as lean as Ryan Deacon.
Stop.
Number
So
one
hold
goal.
on. We were talking about it before we started this, but what exactly are you doing for like a peak week if you were trying to get ready
I'm doing
for?
this would be like this is a mini peak week. It's not like really a peak week. And also all credit to my coach, Adam Miller, who guides me on all this stuff and tells me what to do. But basically, I'm at the end of beginning of May. So all of May, all of June, all of July, like 12-week.
How big of a
cut.
deficit?
Started out 400 calorie
Per day?
deficit per day. My maintenance calories around 4,000. Started out like 3,600 calories, dropped it to like 3,500, and now we're kind of like training days. I'm like 3,400 calories, and off days like 3,200. Also, maintenance calories at 4,000 is probably like training day maintenance.
Yeah.
So I'm probably in like a 600 calorie deficit, realistically.
Yeah, we're like eating the same amount.
Yeah. That's how it goes, man. But it shows like you have a crazy engine of metabolism. You stay like as lean as you are on those calories, which is a lot of calories for you. For just a little guy like you. Just kidding.
I was waiting for it.
I was in the middle of giving you a compliment.
Hey, that's all right. I feel like though when we were wrestling, I mean, maintenance calories had to have been 1,000 calories higher for each of us.
Yeah. Well, that's why when I went up to heavyweight and while wrestling, I was having to eat like 7,000 calories a day.
Yeah, that's tough.
Sucked, for sure. But now that we're just NARPs, we can kind of figure out our NARP maintenance calories. Which is, for me, it's like 4,000 with a lift.
You doing any cardio or are you just doing? Okay.
Not like hardcore, just zone 2 stuff.
Okay.
I'm not wrestling right now because I'm not coaching. This is like the off season for wrestling. At least for high school wrestling, there really isn't an off season in college wrestling.
Yeah, you got a month. Honestly, right about now, we'd usually go home for like 3 or 4 weeks and then back for preseason.
Yeah, at Lehigh for us, it was like depended if you were doing freestyle or not, but it was like beginning of June. But yeah, this is off season for high school wrestling, so I'm not wrestling much. But yeah, I've just been doing zone 2 cardio, like walking. Basically, Miller has me get your at least 10,000 steps a day. Which usually means 1 or 2 walks.
I'm trying to be better about that too, man. Like I definitely, it's a busy work day. Sometimes it's hard between meetings or something, but I mean, just the amount of like revival energy you feel after a 10-minute walk outside after sitting at a desk all day. I'm like so much more productive after I'm ready to like attack the next task.
For
But
sure.
I do feel like a modern day issue is, you get 10,000 steps, but it's probably better to get it in 3, 4 chunks throughout the day instead of like one long walk at night or something.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and they have those walking. I think I might get one of those like walking pad at your desk. I have the desk that goes up and down. Then you can kill
You'd
two
need
birds
a
with one stone.
You'd need a real treadmill. You're too big for those walking pads. I have some coworkers that do it in meetings, and they're actually really quiet, dude. They work well. I'll stand up sometimes with my standing desk, but
Yeah.
if I'm doing like deep work, it's tough for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You can't be doing like typing and thoughtful work. But yeah, I'm doing zone 2 cardio, and then this week just basically to drop a little fluid, like subcutaneous fluid. And you and I have talked about this a bunch, but you actually do the opposite of what you think you should do. Drink a ton of water.
Yep.
So usually I drink like 1 to 1.5 gallons a day. I've bumped that up to like 2.5 to 3 gallons a day. Up your sodium intake. That's another mistake a lot of people make, especially like for bodybuilding peak week. If you're doing a weight cutting sport, you can take the sodium out at the end and then you drop weight really fast. But if you take sodium out from a aesthetics perspective, you lose a lot of like the volume
Yeah.
in your muscles, like the water volume. So for peak week for bodybuilding or like aesthetics purpose, you just drink a ton of water and keep the sodium higher than you normally would to maintain electrolyte balance and stay full. And so I'm doing that. And the other thing I'm doing is lifting at like an RPE 8, which that's the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
I like it's just not my favorite style of training. I like training hard, but this week I've been a good boy and I've kept everything at like
Good boy.
RPE. Yeah. Yeah. Miller also coaches my training partner, Luke. So
That's
he
good.
was like, told Luke, like, don't let Max go past RPE 8. So I've
That's
had
good.
like someone to keep me accountable.
Yeah. You
But
got parameters.
yeah, exactly. And that just allows you to like drop some of the inflammation that you would have from hard training.
Hmm.
You can push a little past like harder RPEs on this really small muscle groups like shoulders, calves, maybe even arms a little bit,
Core.
core, but on the big like chest, back, legs,
Yeah, it's tough.
definitely don't push it.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. When do you plan on, I guess, reversing out of this, going to maintenance or going to a bulk? How much
Probably
longer?
next week. No, I won't go to a bulk right away. Just um, metabolically much healthier to kind of slowly come out of it.
Yeah.
But I'll start reversing it, come closer to maintenance next week, and then probably be around maintenance for the following 4 or 5 weeks,
Yeah.
and then get back after the eating.
How have the strength numbers been? I know you've been doing lower weights just to, part of it, but how do you feel strength wise?
It was interesting, I would say, and I'd be curious to see what other people think on longer cuts, but I'd say the strength, it came down pretty quickly at first,
Hmm.
just with like less glycogen, much less carbs, less fuel.
Yeah.
I also came off eating like a ton of food for a long period of time. I was the biggest I ever was. I got up to like almost 270 at night. Um, and so the strength went down pretty quickly at first, but then I'd say like at like 8, maybe 9 weeks in, it kind of bounced back up a little bit. And I'm not exactly sure why. I'll ask Miller what his theory is, but if I had to guess, it's because I got to a point where my body started getting more comfortable with burning fat for energy, like oxidizing fat, or not oxidizing, going through fat oxidation
Yeah.
for energy. And so I started to feel like a little better during my workouts about 9 weeks in.
That is interesting.
Like I wasn't like barbell doing heavy barbell movements or anything, but on like our hack squat machine, I hit a PR like not this last leg day, but the day before when I was pushing RPE 10.
Yeah.
Like moved as much weight as I've ever moved on a
Wow.
hack squat.
Yeah, that is crazy on a cut. Have you been abusing caffeine yet?
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's like the go-to, like when you don't have a lot of calories and you're looking for energy, the easy button is like rip some more caffeine.
Yep. Rip some caffeine,
Yeah.
dabble in the nicotine. That is cheat code for cutting weight.
That is
Shout out to my boy Josh Bridges and Athletic Nicotine. Good clean nicotine.
There you go. I'm not on that train, but I support you.
Don't, we've talked about it. I think there's a way to probably use nicotine and do it healthily, but
Yeah.
you got to be like incredibly disciplined with it.
I just feel like you're dancing with the devil, man, because nobody gets off without getting addicted to that thing.
Oh, it's addictive. It's like caffeine, but better.
Yeah. I love caffeine. That's where I'm stopping.
You would like nicotine.
All right, let's do it. Let's get into our topic.
Yeah.
Simplifying what matters, what doesn't, and where we can actually like focus your attention for long-term health. Specifically talking about like environmental toxins, organic versus non-organic, GMO, cost benefit analysis with this stuff. I think there's so much misinformation here, and it's easy to like go deep on I don't know, just trying to micromanage everything, and it's just not going to happen. So like everything in life, I think your time is way better spent on big rocks, and then there's going to be some stuff that slips through the cracks, but if you get 80-90% of this right, you're going to be a whole lot healthier than trying to get I just don't think cost benefit of trying to do this 99% right is practical or worth it.
I agree. I think like what I would like for people listening to come out of this podcast today with is like 3 or 4 things you can do on kind of the like general health, non-toxic, whatever you want to call it, lifestyle. 3 or 4 things that you can do that actually do move the lever, and kind of discuss some of the things that are, maybe like really hard to worry about or think about. I also want to start out with there's 2 camps here, and I'll use the extreme examples on both. You have like one, and I'll start out by calling them out, and then I'll say where I agree with everyone. There's like on the one side, you have like Lane Norton, who's like, all that matters is getting your daily movement in, right? The problem in the US isn't toxic chemicals. It's the fact that people exercise less than 15 minutes a day and eat an average of over 3,500 calories. And like beyond that, you're worrying about, you're stepping over pennies to pick up dollars.
Yep.
Or
other way.
Yep. Stepping over dollars to pick up pennies.
You should step over pennies to pick up dollars, just to be clear.
But that's what Lane Norton would say, kind of like hardcore that side, like that's not evidence-based, anything beyond that. It's not randomized control science-based, so don't like stress about it.
Yeah.
Artificial sweeteners are fine. I'd say like Dr. Mike Isertel's in that camp as well. Food, like processed food, as long as you're below, like doesn't matter what you're eating really, as long as you're eating at a deficit, you're improving your health. That's like one hardcore camp. And then I'd say like go all the way to the other side, and you have people like Dr. Paul Saladino, Liver King, even Huberman sometimes. It's like, here's all you can maximize in all these ways. Like Paul Saladino lives in Costa Rica, doesn't, washes his clothes with vinegar.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Won't have any artificial sweetener, eats only raw foods, and like kind of all those things matter and they stack up. And if you look at like long-term health data, these things are really important. And I would say the truth is a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like to call like Lane Norton, that's obviously the major problem, but I think there's some things we can take from the kind of like super non-toxic crowd that are also probably good things and we should be paying attention to. At Iron Summit, we are about getting everything we can out of our workouts and everyday lives. If you aren't wearing a pair of barefoot or wide toe box trainers, you are leaving gains on the table. The Sashi Athletics Ronin Ichi Minimalist Trainer is a perfect barefoot shoe. Not only does it perform like other major brands on the market, it is actually good looking. Even my wife says so. Get a pair today for 10% off with the code IronSummit10. Link is in the bio.
Yeah, I agree. And I think just to set this up a little bit more too, obviously we'll dive deeper into some of these more than others, but like some big levers are like nutrient density. Organic food isn't necessarily more nutritious. Like nutrient differences can be like very minimal. It's more like the pesticide exposure, which organic does equal like fewer synthetic pesticides, but the levels in non-organic are way below the safety thresholds because there are safety thresholds. Um, and you can do things like washing your produce that stays along that really goes a long way for this stuff. The other thing is like, is this within your economic means? Like if you're going to buy organic, the cost benefit, it might not be worth it for some items. And then dirty dozen items, which we might get into later, which is like berries and spinach. Those are the like high lever. If you're going to buy organic, those are things you'd probably want to buy organic. Again, I think it's more important that you're buying healthy food than like if you don't have the budget to buy healthy food, just buy non-organic healthy food instead of grabbing junk food or buying, a little bit of organic food and then nothing. Um, and then local and fresh is usually better than organic. Like if you can get some local in-season food, it's going to have a better nutrient profile and retention than organic food that was shipped from, across the country, across the world. So I think part of this too is like do a little bit of research, find a good meat market, find a good, local farm, support local businesses, which everybody's, happy to do in today's day and age, I feel like. And you're gonna get healthier stuff. It's a lot easier for them to basically just look through all their produce and make sure that there's a standard that is upkept. That's a lot harder to do with higher or bigger corporations. And then like some noise that I think is worth ignoring is like organic junk food is still junk food. There's a lot of marketing tricks out here just because it says organic, but it's filled with a bunch of crap. Doesn't mean it's good for you.
100%.
And then marketing claims like natural or hormone free, it's like irrelevant for produce or often meaningless in like a regulation context. So just be on the lookout for marketing teams are smart. They know how to, put something on a label. It cracks me up when you see something that's like gluten free and it's like meat. And it's like, okay, it's not even relevant, but somebody's like, oh, this must be healthy because it's gluten free. It's like gluten isn't inherently bad for you. It's people that are intolerant to gluten. It's just there's a lot of like processed foods that have gluten in them, and so like we're making correlations. So all that to say, like there's a lot of noise here too. You got to look out for marketing terms and understand what really matters. And I think spending a little bit of time educating yourself, you can make a lot better decisions without absolutely blowing out your budget or going too far one way and just only
Yeah.
spending $20 a pound on meat.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Well, that's kind of, I had broken it down into like three big levers you can pull for like this healthy, longevity based, non toxic lifestyle. And one of them was organic. Pretty much agree with everything you just said. Where I would focus your time if you want to think about eating organic is buying your fresh fruit and produce organic, particularly the Dirty Dozen, which to read it off, it's strawberry, spinach, kale, nectarines, apples, grapes, cherries, peaches, pears, bell and hot peppers, celery, and tomatoes. But really any produce where you're going to be exposed directly to the pesticides they spray on them. Washing can mitigate that, but in the US particularly, and maybe this will change with the Maha movement, but non-organic foods, they spray pesticides like glyphosate on them, which there is some pretty solid science that glyphosate is not good for you. Like it's not even allowed in, I think, pretty much every other country in the world. The use of glyphosate is banned. In the US, it's not. So if you're buying non-organic, you're probably having some level exposure to that with fresh produce or things like oats, anything that they grow in a field. So I think that's something you can really focus on. Where I think there's much less of an impact is meat um, and eggs, that sort of thing. Those are like the animals. One, the restrictions for organic on like ranching and farming are really, really intense. And I know like local ranchers who I completely trust their the way they raise the meat, the conditions the cows are in, the food they're giving them, but they just like the paint on the fence posts on the ranch isn't like certified organic. You know, like that's the kind of stuff like one, the bar for organic for meat is like really high, and two, meat because they're like the animals are eating the grass and then processing it themselves. They're kind of like taking out a lot of the harmful chemicals that you should be worried about. To your point on nutrient density, like the difference between an organic and non-organic cow is nothing. Where you're going to get the bang for your buck is like local, like
Yeah.
a local free range cow is going to have more nutrient density, or like a grass-fed cow, whether it's organic or not, is going to have more nutrient density than a non. So
When
like
you talk about like grass fed too, but then there's grass fed, grass finished, like there's a lot of different tiers of these different, like,
grain finished,
yeah.
which is the most delicious.
Yeah. And that, yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of farmers just like in certain circles, and like, they're like, grain cows taste way better.
Yeah.
But then, the kick is like, oh, grass fed. So, I mean, there's personal taste preferences too, but like you said, I think, particularly a big cow, or a big animal like a cow, the meat, they do a good job of processing it, and the meat is very similar.
Yeah. So on organic, maybe think about if it's something you're interested in. I think a high impact area would probably be buying organic produce. That's definitely something I try and do. Just also knowing the standards in the US, I think I would probably lean towards doing organic if you can from a cost perspective.
Hmm.
That being said, to your point of like organic junk food, if you're like not, if you're worried about buying organic, but then you get an organic pizza versus a non-organic ground beef and potato, the non-organic ground beef and potato is a multitude of times healthier for you than an organic pizza.
Yeah.
Like what I want to make sure I stress on this point is like macros are much more impactful to your health
Yeah.
than micros and the pesticides that are on it. Not saying that micros and the pesticides that are on your food are not impactful, but macros are like what you should be worrying about first.
Yeah.
So if it comes to like non-organic single food sources versus organic packaged food or processed food, you know, there's no comparison. So you like, no pun intended, you have to be comparing apples to apples
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
this.
I think that's a good, like, if you're gonna skip the broccoli because it's not organic, like, yeah, it's probably better to get organic. Um, but if you're gonna not buy it because it's not organic, like, you should probably just buy the broccoli, and then once your budget allows for it, get the organic stuff. I think the other thing here too is there's a lot of ways to save with this, like buy in bulk, go to a Costco, like go to a bulk store, or buy frozen like veggies. There's a lot of research that like frozen stuff is actually more nutrient dense because it's like flash frozen at peak ripeness.
There. Yep.
Um, so like there's ways, and it's typically cheaper because it's stable for them to ship that around. It's not like they're on this time crunch of, this is needs to be shipped by this date or else it's spoiled and it goes to zero, for their profits. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things you can do there to make sure that you're still getting high quality nutrients that are organic without like totally blowing out your budget.
Yep. And I think on the, like, we'll wrap up the organic versus non-organic on the point of a huge mistake people make is thinking that just because it's organic, it's healthy.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, you need to be worrying about the macronutrient profile of your food way before worrying about whether or not it's organic.
Yeah.
If you're getting the right macronutrient profiles and you're getting good quality single food sources, and now you can start worrying about organic, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, on that point, I'll go to big lever number one because I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. Um, and I've definitely seen this. Drinking alcohol and smoking are quite literally like the king of toxic.
Yeah.
So I don't care if you're drinking some fancy French wine from an all organic farm. Alcohol is literally a toxin. That's what it is. And it's in a pretty high dosage. Like the dosage of, I mean, like a red wine is like what, 13, 14% alcohol. That means it's 13, 14% toxin. Whereas like if you ate a non-organic strawberry, you're maybe by weight, like 0.01% of that strawberry is the pesticides that were sprayed on it. Like, so like if you are truly worried about living a non-toxic, healthy, clean lifestyle, and you're going to make the effort to eliminate non-toxic items like eating organic, even, I know like there's we can get into it, but like phthalates and BPA and PFAs, like if you're worrying about all of that stuff, then you should, like, if you're very worried about that stuff, then you should be very, 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 very worried about drinking alcohol or smoking tobacco
Yeah.
products.
Yeah. There's a hierarchy for sure. I think it's a good point. Like we like to think we're like logical, rational human beings and creatures. And there's a lot of things that we do that is not rational or logical and doesn't follow a train of thought, because most rational thing to do would be like knock out the big ones first. And drinking's a huge, inflammation causing, like a lot of,
That's what
and
it is.
then you'll yell at somebody for not having organic spinach. And it's like, all right, there's, there's definitely a hierarchy here. So I think it's a great point. I think the next thing is like all the rave, which has been for recent years too, I guess, but microplastics too. Um, and they're kind of everywhere now. Like you're not going to avoid them.
Microplastic and PFA, the same thing.
I think PFAs are type.
Forever chemical, right? They're
Yeah.
like petrochemical based, which I think that's what makes up microplastics.
Yeah, but it's just, yeah, I think you're right. Don't quote me on that. But like it's, we're in a world now where like you can't avoid microplastics, and we're starting to see like there's a lot of studies going on. I think we're going to just see more and more about how bad it is. I think the problem is since it's everywhere, it's in food, it's in water, it's in food containers, it's in the air. Yeah, exactly. And like I think the biggest sources that you're going to find is bottled water. There's a lot in seafood. There's a lot that gets into our oceans, especially like shellfish. Food packaging, like everything comes in plastic now. It's ridiculous when you go to the store and you see something that like has a natural casing, like a fruit that they put in a plastic wrap instead of like they unpeel it. How lazy are we that we like will peel an orange and put it in plastic wrap, and then like in processed foods. And then long-term health effects, they're still kind of being studied, but early signs point to like endocrine disruption, inflammation, gut health implications. And so we got to, I think, try to minimize this stuff. And I think the biggest levers to pull, which most people are on, drink from stainless steel or glass, like minimize your bottled water use. It's easy to go overboard with that, but that's such an easy thing. Like you're going to drink water every single day. Every human being has to survive. Make sure you have good containers for what you're drinking out of: glass, stainless steel. Reduce plastic packaged, ultra processed food. That's probably just good for general health in like as a macro event in your life. Like, but at the same time, like making sure you have less plastic in those types of things. And then avoid heating food in plastic containers. I think this is something with older generations. Like I'll see like, like a older woman that's like amazing meal. And then they like pull out, like plastic out of the crock pot. And I'm like, did you really just like boil that plastic for 6 hours and we're going to eat that? And
Yeah.
I mean, people just used to do that, or like microwaving containers when you heat up food.
Yeah.
Even one that I hate, because I definitely still do it, but I don't I don't know that I do it, a lot, but coffee cups, that
Yeah.
plastic lining in coffee cups with hot coffee is not great. So I think there's some big levers there that you can pull that helps. And being aware of that, receipts too, like trying to not touch receipts as much. I don't
Yeah.
know, like there's a lot of ways to avoid that now, but you're not going to always just not be able to just grab a receipt. So that's
Yeah.
avoid, not eliminate, I guess.
Yeah. So I did some research on this morning, and I do think that there's pretty solid science now that these microplastics, I think it's like BPA, phthalates, and PFAs are the three main like bad guys here that do like there is solid science that these things do mess up your endocrine system, which like there's some pretty undeniable science around the amount of like fertility rates dropping, the amount of like in vitro that's being required to have kids, testosterone levels in men are on the decline. Like we got some pretty solid science here that something's messing this up, and these seem to be the culprits. I tried to go through and like really understand, like I think to your like all of this stuff impacts your endocrine system, but like what really impacts it versus like maybe we don't know.
Yeah.
I tried to sort through that, and from what I could tell, like one of the biggest things, I think you made a great point on like what you're drinking out of. The other thing is drink filtered water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
It's a
tap
great,
water has a lot of these PFAs and phthalates in it, and you don't need a fancy filter.
dude,
Like
Berkey's.
just like a charcoal under sink filter, like that you can buy at Home Depot for $150. Like you don't need a reverse osmosis system. Obviously, that's best, but like a charcoal filter removes 90+% of the harmful endocrine disruptors, where like a reverse osmosis will remove 100%.
But then you
But
got
you
to
can make a big
remineralize it, right? I mean,
what?
reverse osmosis, you got to remineralize your water, and it's like $5,000 to put into your whole house or something like that.
Yeah, if you're gonna, but I think you can then just like add Relight
Yeah.
or a healthy mineral mix, take a mineral multivitamin. Um, but I think if you like want to make a big impact, I think probably the biggest thing you could do is just make sure you drink filtered water. Don't
Yeah.
drink tap water. Like that's a big one. Check the other big one, and I think most containers are in this direction now, is because BPA is like that is probably the worst out of all these for you.
Yeah.
And make sure that the food containers, like if you are going to get something that's canned or in plastic packaging, make sure that that plastic packaging is BPA free, which I think like I bet you in the next 10 years it's illegal to package in a
You
container that
think?
has BPAs. But one thing I did learn, like check the cans, because a lot of they use a BPA lining. You would think like, oh, this is a metal, but sometimes they can use a BPA lining in cans.
Yeah.
Just check your packages or your packaged food. Make sure it's BPA free. That's another big one. And then the third one that I think you mentioned is like the sciences or studies have not shown, like I think it's common sense, it makes sense to drink out of non-plastic, eat out of non-plastic, but they're not like to your point, like so much food is in plastic, I wouldn't like bend over backwards worrying about it.
Yeah.
But if you can bend over backwards to not heat it up in plastic,
Yeah.
that's where like if it wasn't getting microplastics into your food when it's stored in plastic, when you heat it up in plastic, you're definitely getting it. Like we know that. So
Yeah.
just, which is, and I mean, I'm guilty. I'll still eat a BB Go rice every once in a while.
Yeah.
Those things are the best. But like the rice in the little plastic cups from Costco.
You could probably just dump it onto a plate. It probably is
And
not
then
as
season
good.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably could. Um, it's just like when you put it in that little
Yeah.
plastic container for 90 seconds, it comes out just beautiful.
Well, and the other thing, Max, that I think that's a great point with, sorry, circling back to filtered water. I had a Berkey I got in college.
Yeah,
They're
those are
like,
all, that's stainless steel and
and you
charcoal.
can get fluoride filters. You have the charcoal filters. I think it was like $300, and then each filter replacement, it's like $150 for the filters to replace all of them, and you do it every 3 years. It's like 2 cents per gallon for water. So, like, if you
Pretty
spend
valuable.
$50 a year on your water, I think that's a worthwhile investment in your health. And it's kind of like, I'm not a doomsday prepper, but you could put like lake water in
Anything.
there and it'll filter it for, so like you could take it camping, you could, in a bad situation, you got a good filter and it's super easy. You just dump it in. So big fan of those. And I think they're super low and they're a lot cheaper than everybody's got a Brita. You're supposed to change the Brita filter every 30 days.
Yeah.
And that's for people that don't drink a lot of water. That's like 30 gallons. It's like assuming a gallon a day. That's not for a family. That's probably per human. Um, it is super expensive per gallon of water with a Brita. Like there's other things that are upfront costs a little more, but it's a lot cheaper over the long run. Um, and then cooking wise, like I think there's such a good push recently on probably the last 3 years, nonstick pans, making sure that you're not getting bad toxic pans that when they scrape off, you get forever chemicals in your body.
Yeah.
Um, change your cookware, like you were just talking about plastic that's heating up. Don't have plastic spatulas. Like use wood, use metal. Like don't use plastic ones. I think these are super easy things. You buy it once, you fix it once, it's done.
Yeah.
Cutting boards. I don't know that it's going to get in your food, but you definitely scrape up cutting boards and you start putting plastic in your food and then you eat it. It's getting in your body. Um,
Yeah.
use a wood cutting board. So I think those are some easy, very low cost ways to just switch it out once and then not have to think about this for a long time.
Iron Summit is brought to you by Bridge Athletic. Looking for a way to streamline your training programs and deliver exceptional results? Check out our friends at Bridge Athletic. Their platform is packed with over 300 templates and 1,500 instructional videos, courtesy of subject matter experts like Exos, FMS, and Hyperice, making program design both efficient and impactful. Our listeners can take advantage of an exclusive offer. For a limited time, get your first 30 days free and your next month at 50% off when you use code Iron Summit, all caps. That's code Iron Summit, no spaces, all caps. For 30 days free plus 50% off your second month at bridgeathletic.com. Check it out and start assigning custom programs directly to your athlete's mobile device.
Yeah. So on that one, I think like our key points are drink filtered water, don't heat your food up in plastic. And then if you can, like probably smaller level levers, but that aren't really hard to pull is like try not to drink out of plastic. I'm not saying don't ever do it, but just like try not to do it and get some wood cutting boards, like start thinking about your cookware, that kind of stuff. Those are kind of the levers on that. And then when it comes to like, we could probably do like 5 episodes on this, but
Yeah.
I think where the science is less, at least I haven't seen any really convincing studies or like I think you got to be worrying about a lot of things before you start worrying about like the kind of lotion you're using, like absorbing the microplastics through your skin, like
Deodorant.
deodorants. I mean, I use like aluminum free deodorant. I try to use like a more natural deodorant. I actually found one that works pretty well off of Amazon.
Dish soap, washing detergent, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of good
there's all
brands
that
coming
kind of
now.
stuff.
Yeah.
I think before you start worrying about that, like worry about the things we just went through, and then you can start worrying about your detergents. Like don't candles are another, like any really strong chemical fragrance. You're breathing that in.
Yeah.
The kind of soap you're using, like I'm at a point with like Alexis and I are doing that stuff, but like I'd say if you're not pulling the big levers and again worrying about like consistent exercise and like your macros from a broad perspective, these things are like they're micro levers that are going to change it, like maybe change it, like,
Yeah.
fractions of a percent.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think there's a lot of like, uh, I don't know if I want to say data, but like compelling arguments for like going back to cotton clothing and less like polyesters and, plastic clothing that's, so, but like you said, I think the easiest, biggest levers are what you're cooking with, what you're eating with, what you're drinking out of,
Yeah,
what you're drinking.
if you're putting it into your stomach, you're gonna get a lot of it.
Yeah.
Whereas like what you're wearing and that kind of like what's on your skin, I do it, but I also probably still have to be convinced that
Yeah.
it's bad.
I think the problem too with this is like, it's not really an easy study. Like in some ways, humans are very resilient and very, I don't know, like we're trash cans, man. You can put in like these crazy things in your body and our body turns it into energy. Like it's amazing. But at the same time, like it's hard to study the effect of something because you can study like, oh, this low dosage doesn't affect a human. Yeah, but there you might be getting a 1,000 times that dosage weekly, but we're looking at like one snapshot. And then how does that slowly, develop into cancer, develop into something else over 10, 20, 30 years? And we know that stuff affects us. Like there's studies of people that randomly there's a bunch of certain type of cancer in this one community and they're like, oh, it had to do with the drinking water or it had to do with, whatever toxic was in the ground. And so I've even seen like if you lived within, I want to say it's like 6 miles of a golf course growing up,
Yeah, I
you,
saw
you
that.
you're like
Much higher rate.
30% more likely to get Parkinson's.
Yeah, I
And
saw that study.
and then our planet it's like one big energy system that we're just pushing. I mean, there's a fire over here and we get all the smoke, in Colorado. It's like the planet's pushing around all these toxins. We're doing it to all the humans together. And so you can't just avoid it all, but I do think like trying to minimize your total exposure is probably a smart thing to do without being like, I'm never going to go outside. I have to do, and air filters are cheap. Like make sure you're changing air filters in your house. You can buy an air filter unit that's, $150. And, I don't know. I think there's big levers here, and then there's things that if you have the discretionary income that are probably worth doing, even if the science isn't fully like this is 100% helping you yet. I think it's better to err on the side of caution with this stuff.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Let's hit on one that I pretty much think you can ignore,
Okay.
which is GMOs.
Yeah.
Genetically modified is like, I think that's a marketing term, not a health impact. Genetically modified, this fear that like that somehow is some kind of Frankenstein food. And that's just inherently not true. Like things have been genetically modified just means like crossbred, like things have been genetically modifying naturally for literally thousands of years. Like the organic wheat that's in the US is cross pollinated, and then there's a new kind of wheat, and that would be considered a genetically modified wheat because it's not the original wheat. But I would say there is no evidence or science at all that genetically modified food is inherently less for you. Maybe where I draw the line, and this is probably beyond genetic modification, but have you seen the like lab grown meat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up.
I don't even know if that's like lab grown, not genetically modified. Like
Yeah.
genetically modified would be like you breed a black Angus and a Wagyu cow
Yeah.
and you get a cross, right? Like that's a genetically modified cow. That's not unhealthy, but like lab grown, I'm not there. I'm
Yeah.
good on that for right now.
Well, and like you said, like GMOs were designed to reduce like pesticide use or like improve crop yield. it's not like designed to
Some of
poison
it's
you.
more nutrient dense, right? Like GMO could actually be a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah, so I think golden rice is an example of something that has better nutritional value.
Yeah.
So there's like you said, I think it's kind of a sphere tactic. So like GMO, everyone's like, oh, it's Frankenstein food. But I mean, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier too. Like it's a marketing tool. Like people are like tagging on this GMO thing. Um, Marketers will do this for stuff that doesn't even have like a GMO counterpart, like salt or bottled water. Like, yeah,
And even
of course it's non-GMO. Like it's not even related to what they're talking about, you know? So I'm with you. I think there's a lot of fear mongering there, but like you said, I am a little freaked out about like lab grown meat. I don't know that I would love to eat that stuff, but you know, maybe 10 years from now, we're like, hey, it's the exact same. You can't tell the difference. It's like lab grown diamonds now. People are like, experts can't even see the difference. I feel like it's just different still. Like I don't know that I would buy a lab grown diamond, but I mean, we're live in a world where people are able to make stuff. It's crazy.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and look, if we get to a point where we decide that it's illegal to kill cows or something, yeah, I'll eat I'll eat lab grown steak, but we're not there yet, so I'm gonna eat the real thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm always skeptical when something's that new to try it, you know,
For
like
sure. That's
that's
probably a good point across the board.
yeah. Yeah, don't
Yeah.
be the guinea pig.
Yeah, exactly. Some healthy skepticism is a good thing
Yeah, for sure.
for all of this. Last one I want to touch on before we kind of like wrap up and
Yeah.
cover the like kind of recap the big levers. And this is pretty controversial, definitely in the forefront now, is like EMFs and exposure to electromagnetic frequencies.
Yep.
And all I can see, I mean, from what I've seen, the data, like there's no good proof that they're harmful
Yeah.
in any way. That being said, like I guess have some healthy skepticism. Don't sleep on your cell phone.
Yeah.
It's like don't maybe put your cell phone 6 feet away from your head while you're sleeping. But if you're gonna worry about that, like you're gonna have to go live in a cave.
Yeah.
Because literally anything electronic has EMFs. I found out like one of the strongest emitters of EMFs is vacuum cleaners.
Really?
Like
Okay.
yeah, like because of the way the like burrs spin in there and creates a ton of EMF. But like, would you rather live in an unsanitary household or be around some EMFs every
Yeah.
once in a while, like when you're vacuuming? So, like, I would just say probably in the um, like GMO category is like I wouldn't worry about it. But that being said, like maybe reserve just in case I'm wrong in like 10 years. Reserve the right to say I didn't say with 100% certainty that they're not harm free.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you probably don't want like, you know, like you said, sleeping on top of your electronics or having your laptop on your lap or your crotch the whole day. Like it's probably not a good thing. But you see guys like online and stuff that'll like they have EMF shields and like or netting or whatever, and they turn their Wi-Fi off when they sleep, and
Yeah,
it's like,
Palo Paladino doesn't even have Wi-Fi. It just has Ethernet cables going to every room.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm probably fine having Wi-Fi.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's definitely a threshold in modern life. And like, if I'm being honest, if it means that I got Wi-Fi and I can use technology and I died 2 years earlier because of that, I'm probably willing to make that trade-off. You know, like
Yeah.
I think there's a risk reward there. And like you said, I don't think there's super convincing evidence. Kind of to wrap this all though, like in terms of practical tips,
Yeah.
wash your fruit and vegetables. Organic's better, especially for the dirty dozen, but washing if you can't. And food quality is a lot more important than like just labels. So like if you're going to pick pizza over spinach because it's not organic, go spinach. Um,
Yep.
Prioritize organic for thin skin, high pesticide produce if your budget allows. I think that's generally good practice. It's kind of what we talked about, a big lever there. Don't fear GMOs blindly. Look at the food quality. Big caveat, I'm not a fan of GMO meat. But we don't know enough there. And then drink filtered tap water over bottled plastic water. If you can replace your cookware with better cookware, wooden and metal like utensils, and don't microwave plastic stuff, I think that's really big levers that will enhance your life quickly. And then store food and heat food in glass containers.
Yep.
I just think there's no reason to have plastic now. You can get a whole set of glass containers for $20. This is a low barrier to entry for this stuff now.
Yep. And only things I'll add to it is, like, before worrying about even any of the levers you just mentioned, exercise consistently. I'll give credit to Lane Norton here, where I think he really is right. Like, the most of the problems we have in the US with obesity, rise of cancer, et cetera, is not because of all these toxins, but because people are eating a bunch and not exercising. So eat healthy, organic, or at least whole foods. Eat whole foods, exercise consistently. We just did a whole podcast on why particularly resistance training is a really good form of exercise. And the last thing I'll say is, if you get too far down this wormhole, the stress and like the increased cortisol and all the stuff from worrying about this is probably worse for you than if you just didn't worry about it at all. So that's like to throw a wrench in there. Like don't stress about it, because that's worse than doing it all right.
I think that's a great, Max, not to harp on this too much, but another thing that you kind of touched on without saying too is, like, if you're exercising, you're like naturally sweating out a bunch of toxins too.
Yeah, sure.
So like exercising, sauna, making sure you're like getting workouts in, you're getting waste out of your body by doing this stuff too. Like, our bodies are smart, they're good filters, but like, you got to be using your body. You can't just let everything get clogged up and so I think, like you said, if you're eating real food, if you're lifting, doing cardio, sleeping, managing your stress, you're already doing a lot more for your health than like any of these things could ever do
100%.
for you.
Yeah. And I guess, like, I'll even take it one more step. It really does bother me with these people with a lot of influence who are kind of fear mongering, but not touching on like the big levers.
Yeah.
Like, we do need to worry about the big levers first, which, consistent exercise. Don't partake regularly in the known toxins like tobacco and alcohol. Like, I want to make sure, like, we spend 45 minutes talking about the ways you can live non-toxic and actually make a difference. But what I do want to stress is, like, really none of that matters if you're not doing like the big things first.
Yeah. It's a great point. I think that's a great way to wrap it.
Awesome.
Boom.
Welcome to Iron Summit, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming your best self, blending expert insights on strength training, smart recovery, optimal nutrition, and mindset mastery to help you elevate your game.